Hi, I'm Jason Carr with Bayer Crop Science. As 2020 has started off here, the weather in March has been very nice at the beginning of the month and made a lot of people kind of get excited about starting to get back in the field after kind of a rough 2019 that we had. Get back in the field, do some field work, and maybe even think about planting. So, of course, we were thinking the same thing. We had some nice weather on March 7th, the fields dried out, and we went ahead and we planted some beans. And I would like to tell you a little bit about the conditions that we planted them into, and then I'd like to keep you updated throughout the year on how this trial turns out.
As we would expect, being early March, the soil temperatures were a little on the cool side. Now the soil was a little bit wet. I've been joking that although it was a little on the wet side, it wasn't bad, and it was probably better than the conditions for about 85% of what we planted last year in 2019. Since we did plant so early and the soil temperatures were so low, we planted a little bit deeper than probably would be typical. We planted about 2 inches deep. The thought process being that at a little bit deeper temperature will kind of buffer the changes in soil moisture and temperature over the next month to maybe even a little bit longer that it takes for these seeds to germinate. Now, if you're considering early planting of beans, especially ultra early, like I would consider this March planting, there's a few recommendations that I would like to make. First off, good seed treatments are critical. So if you're not going to use a seed treatment, if you want to plant untreated seed, I would not consider planting early. Good seed treatments and the improvements that we've made in soybean seed quality are really what's enabled us to plant soybeans earlier and earlier. So prior to, 10 years ago maybe, we weren't really able to plant early as we are now for the very reason that we planted a lot of untreated seeds, and those seed treatments protect the seeds from all of the diseases and insects that are really going to attack them while they're sitting in the ground waiting to germinate. Now, another thing, if you plant earlier, you're able to go a little bit later with your maturity. Since there's a little bit of correlation between maturity of varieties and their yield potential, we can go a little bit later. So if you're normally plant a 3.4, 3.5 variety, you can easily get away with a 3.6 or 3.7, and that will allow you to improve your yield potential for that field. My next recommendation is probably a little bit controversial. So the kind of rule of thumb that we generally go by is to plant soybeans at about 1.5 inches and go a little bit shallower if we're planting into wet conditions or if we're planting early. Now, when we're talking about planting very early, I think we need to go a little bit deeper. I think we need to go to the 1.75 inches, possibly even 2 inches, in order to get those seeds down into the soil zone where we can kind of buffer some of those changes in temperature and moisture. This will provide a little bit more even emergence for that field. Finally, when planting early, you can probably get by with a little bit lower population. Let those beans take advantage of the branching that they're going to do. You're going to have extra time for branching and for them to set pods. And so each individual plant will produce more, and we want to take advantage of that. Now, if you have a little bit of savings on seed cost, you can take that and allocate that to a planned R3 fungicide application to maintain and protect that yield potential that you're going to have in that field. I hope everyone has a safe and successful planting season, and be sure to check back or subscribe to this channel for updates throughout the year on this and other trials.